Hi folks, Cold Warrior 78 again, back out in the woods. This is another aspect of my secret desert training facility. Now of course you're going to say, hold on a minute, this doesn't look like the desert. Trees, forests, obviously mountains. Where's the desert? Well, you're still in Arizona. This area is just below what is called the Mogollon Rim. What looks like a mountain behind me is actually something called the Mogollon Rim. Let me get a better picture of that for you guys. Zoom in a little bit. All right, see that? That is an escarpment. All right, that's the top of it, right up there. And the Mogollon Rim cuts all across Arizona. It's probably maybe a third of the state. I'll work my way back up in the picture here. There you go. It covers about a third of the state. It's anywhere between 500 feet high to 1,000 feet high as it cuts across the state. Where I am right now, north of Payson, as you can see, it's nice, right at this point kind of dry scrub, but still pinyon pines, a very high country kind of feeling. It's between 55 and 60 degrees where I am here. I was already up there today, earlier today, playing in the snow. It was about 42, 43 degrees up there. So an extra 1,000 feet of elevation gives you enough temperature difference to dramatically change the environment. The top of the rim around here have huge pine trees, old growth pine trees. I'm not entirely sure, they look like ponderosas, but I'm not an expert at that. Technically, from a geological standpoint, up there is Colorado, because that's part of the Colorado Plateau. Now I know a lot of you guys that have been to Colorado or live in Colorado don't think of it as a plateau because of the Rocky Mountains. But on the west side, the Colorado Plateau defines an area of high elevation, cut by rivers, obviously the Colorado being one of them, and geologically and environmentally very, very similar. So up there, you're effectively in a Colorado-like environment. Down here, you're in an Arizona high desert environment. I'm going to pan around so you get a better feel for what's out here. Move this back in a bit so we don't get too much vertigo as we move around. Now as we start coming around, you'll notice how dense it really is down here. This is every bit as dense from a forest standpoint as it is back in South Carolina. Okay, let me come down a little bit more because it angles down here. I'm on a little bit of a trail. And then you'll see a lot more dense forest as you cross here. All right, these are all, let me back out a little bit more. There we go. These are all pinyon pines. And then just to show you what kind of relief we're really talking about, way down there, that's a stream that I had to cross. In my youth, I may have just scrambled down the far side and back up this side, but nowadays I'll walk a mile to get around something like that. But this is the high desert or mountain environment in Arizona. You've seen in my other videos the Superstition Mountains. There we go, I'll get back another picture there. The Superstition Mountains, where I hike a lot, have a lot of trees in them. On the, for the, let me change that. Sorry. So, geology and geography come together in the Mogollon Rim. If you envision a map of Arizona, probably about a third, maybe a quarter of the northeastern part of the state is up on the rim and higher. The rim is like at this point we're north of Payson, Arizona. It goes up towards the Painted Desert, around through that area. As you get farther west, the parts that I have seen of it are a little bit lower and a lot drier, so you actually back out in the desert again. As you go east, it blends into some escarpments and a mountain chain over into that go all the way into northern New Mexico and the foothills of the Rocky Mountains over there. But just absolutely gorgeous place to hike and practice your skills. One of the things to keep in mind when you're out doing this kind of thing is to pick up after yourself. Now, I know that sounds really stupid. You know, that's something that they taught you to do in kindergarten. You know, pick up your toys. Well, you can probably hear in the background, there's a dirt road out there that is used rather extensively. Last time I was up in this area was probably 10 years ago. And you could be out here all day long and not hear a vehicle out on that dirt road. The dirt road's about 2 miles, I guess, from where we are. Something like that. But you can still hear it in the, because it's valley between here and where the road is. And of course, as in a lot of national forest, this is national forest area here, there are just little roads and turnoffs and I think they call it trails of use. Basically, you need to get off the road to park your car or park your truck. So people get off, and then it goes a little bit farther, a little bit farther, a little bit farther before the Forest Service has to put up a fence to stop people from going any farther than that. Well, just over there a little bit are a number of campgrounds that are literally just off the road. That's fine. I like camping like that quite often, at least I used to. But 3 out of the 5 campgrounds that I just walked past on my way in here, people hadn't hauled out their trash. Now, the Forest Service doesn't come out into the wilderness to go find your garbage. If you could drive out with it to get here, why not drive back with it? Just saying, it only makes common sense. Most of the folks that are looking at this probably already do that anyway. But just understand that what you do speaks much louder than the words that you say. Everyone learns by watching. Very few people learn by listening. And if there is a lack of congruence between what you say and what you do, people will understand that what you do is who you really are. So don't talk big things about being an environmentalist or a conservationist or friend of the animals or anything like that and leave a bunch of trash in the campground. That just doesn't make any sense. And I know most of you guys wouldn't do that. You wouldn't be listening to me. So I'm not sure why I'm doing this tirade anyway, other than the fact that I'm pissed off. Anyway. So I've gotten a question, a number of questions over the time about, well, what do you carry when you go into the woods? You've seen my backpack before. It's a rather small, what we used to call an assault style pack, so that it comes above the waistline so that you can wear an equipment belt or something like that. I do that because in a tactical situation I've got the old style web gear with a butt pack and everything, and I didn't want them conflicting with each other. Also, it tends to limit me because I'm a pack rat, and if I walked around the woods with an Alice pack, it'd be full. And as it is, that sucker is loaded with more than it should have anyway. That being said, the backpack, I've done another video on it, is basically aimed at hardcore survival kinds of things. Because I am up in these kind of environments, I'm by myself most of the time, miles from the nearest road from my truck. Things happen. You've got to be ready to take care of yourself if you want to be any kind of prepared, call yourself a survivalist or a prepper or whatever you want to call yourself. Common sense tells you you need to be ready to take care of yourself. So I've already done a detailed video about the backpack. This is just some of the other stuff I usually do. Quite often I bring binoculars with me. This is an S4 gear binocular carrier. I like it because it gets a lot of the weight off of my neck, but it doesn't get in the way of putting the backpack on. These are Steiners. These are the old military Steiners. We go back a long way with these things. A lot of people carry big, heavier, much more magnification I find that 8 power, I think they're 8 by 35s, something like that. They're the armored style, which when I got these, that rubber armoring was a brand new concept. I've had these decades at this point. But they're absolutely excellent. They focus here at the eyepieces, which is really fine as long as you're not swapping it back and forth from one person to another. I set them for myself, and that's pretty much where they stay. The holder works pretty easily. It holds itself to you. It's got little elastic straps here, so you don't have to worry about it banging around like they would if they're just on a strap around my neck like they used to be. So anyway, I like these. As you can see, I'm wearing a gun belt. This is a Colt clone. It's a single action Army style pistol. A lot of guys carry all kinds of other things. That's fine. I carry a lot of different things as well. This particular one is 45 Colt. I like that principally because it's a proven cartridge, no frills. In an environment like this, sometimes I carry the first round as a snake shot, sometimes not. This particular one is one of the models with a transfer bar in it, so you can carry 6 rounds in it. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the old style cowboy guns, the old 6-shooters, you only carry 5 rounds in the old style cowboy guns, and that's because the hammer rests down on right on the edge of the cartridge, right on the primer, and if you slam into that hammer, you're going to ignite that cartridge. So John Wayne talked about it, Richard Widmark talked about it, in all the old cowboy movies. They mentioned you only carry 5 rounds unless you're getting ready to go into a fight. Then you take the chance that you're not going to blow your foot off by putting in the 6th round. Okay, so if you've got an old, whether it's a 22, 45, 44, 40, if you've got an old cowboy style gun and it does not have a transfer bar in it, then you better only put 5 rounds in it. And that includes the Rugers that came out in the 70s. Ruger has had a recall out for decades now about their 22s, the Bearcat and the single 6, super single 6, and those models, because they originally didn't have a transfer bar. They had a firing pin in the frame of the gun. Okay, let me cock this for a minute so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, right in here on the Rugers, they had a firing pin. And because it had that little notch right there, everyone assumed that when you dropped the hammer all the way down, that it protected the firing pin. And point of fact, the firing pin was resting right against, there was a spring in there to stop it from pushing all the way into it, but it was resting against the rim of the cartridge. Again, you bang on the hammer, cartridge will go off. They have been trying to upgrade those with a transfer bar. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with what a transfer bar is, again, let me cock this so you can see. There is a bar. I'm sure you can get a really, I need to do this inside for you to get a good look at that. But there, you see the firing pin, and then there's a bar right in here. That bar lifts up when you pull the trigger. Okay, so right now, the strike of the hammer, when your trigger is back, the bar is up, the hammer comes down, hits the bar transfers the hit of the hammer into the cartridge. When the trigger is forward, that bar drops down out of the way, and now that shoulder of the hammer rests right up against the frame of the gun. You can pound on that with a sledgehammer, it's never going to go off. Okay, so single actions, if you're going to carry one, make sure it's got a transfer bar if you want to have all 6 rounds, or just be safe, you know, put 5 rounds in it. You're not going into a gunfight if you're carrying an old 45 or an old cowboy gun. But I like this because, let's face it, it's good. It's a proven cartridge. It'll put down anything that gets in your way. Anything that wants to eat me is going to have to come through it. I also have a carbine that carries 10 rounds of 45 Colt. I seldom hike with it, but I do when I go camping. I carry it with me. Wouldn't want to face down a bear with it, but I know people who have. You know, not I mean, if you're going to go looking for a bear, carry something a lot bigger. But you know, if you're just out there to protect yourself, you know, carry what makes sense for you. On occasion, I have gone camping and brought my 12 gauge just in case. This is not a tremendously large, big bear area. Although I did find a lot of elk poop on the ground just a couple minutes ago. So the elk have moved back into the area, which is a kind of nice thing. Then on my other side here, on the other side of the gun belt, just a leather pouch I made years ago for something else. And this is, technically it would be called a possibles bag back in the old days. It's basically stuff. Food in my case, because when I have my backpack on, I don't want to stop to get some gorp or something out of the back. As you've seen on my backpack, I've got the drinking tube so I can just keep on trucking down a trail. And this is the same thing. I can reach in here and get out. I can carry sandwiches in here if I wanted to. I can carry a bag of gorp. I tend to make my own trail mix, seeds and nuts and dried fruits and stuff like that. I can also put in fairly large tools. This is the clipper. You've seen me use this on the video where I was building that survival shelter. I hate to admit it, I used to carry a machete everywhere I went because that was what I used to clear the path and make firewood and stuff for the evening. You can get a tremendous amount of work done with these clippers. Particularly this is a ratcheting style, so you've got better leverage with it. For the cat's claw and stuff that's out here, and for those of you who have no idea what cat's claw is, think of greenbrier on steroids. Those nasty sticker bushes that we get back east, the greenbriers. Sharper thorns, depending on the size of the plant, maybe bigger thorns, maybe not, but much sharper and on a little wispy twig of a branch, but tremendously strong. So you don't want to get into cat's claw just like you don't want to get into greenbrier. The problem is that if it's sunny in Arizona, you're going to have, there's one right here, you're going to have a cat's claw bush in that sun. So I keep the clippers with me all the time. That is as far as my everyday carry stuff. When I carry a gun like this, I'll leave my my concealed carry gun in the truck. Sometimes I just carry the concealed carry gun in a shoulder holster or in a belt holster or something. I don't tend to carry it concealed when I'm hiking just because I sweat a lot. You don't want to do that to your weapon. It takes a lot of cleaning. I also carry, just out of habit, I carry a locking pocket knife, I carry a Swiss Army knife, wallets, business cards, you know, all the standard kind of things that people carry. That most of which can be used in an emergency if you need to, for making a fire and those kind of things. Okay, so I hope that answers the question of what I normally carry. You see me, I wear a hat all the time. Usually it's some version of this hat. I do have an actual boonie hat that I used to wear in the Army. It's a legitimate Army boonie hat, so it's actually wide enough to protect you from the sun. A little bit floppy. I wear that usually when I'm back east because it's even tighter than it is right here. Okay, so anyway, hope that helps. You don't have to be out in the National Forest here in Arizona to have a good time. Find some woods and just get out in the woods. This is Cold Warrior 78. Have a good time.